We think we know what the New York Jets are going to do in free agency, but maybe we don't. A new NFL Network insider comments suggest otherwise. We'll get into it. Boy Green Daily starts now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Leston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. Shout out to a couple of our Espresso Club members in the room, Troy Sturgis, Jared B., and the other subscribers, the joiners of the Boy Green Coffee Club. I see William Aimley in here, Mark Sacchetti. Thanks, everybody, for joining. By the way, two notes. One, our Boy Green Espresso Club, which is one of our YouTube membership levels for people that are new to the show. We have our next meeting. It will be Saturday night, this Saturday, February 28th at 8 o'clock. So be there sharp. Again, you guys can call into the show or just hang out in the comment section. We got a fun show again that is exclusively for Boy Green Espresso Club members. Hope you guys can join in for that one. That one will be a doozy. Also, for the Boy Green Espresso Club members, you have exclusive not only live streams every month, but you also have exclusive YouTube shorts. We went through my Jets hat collection, which includes multiple New York Jets autographed items, which we talked about. You guys can check that out in the YouTube shorts as well. Well, thanks everybody for coming on in. The first thing you should do is make sure you like the video if you're hitting us up on YouTube, whether that's live or after the fact. Shout out to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, replay on YouTube, and the audio-only version of the podcast. Well, folks, there's a lot of content happening at the NFL Combine. Also, thank you for all the kind words for our guests the last couple of days. Sam Bruckhouse, former college football player, or whether it was anyone this week that you happened to enjoy. Thank you for taking the time to do so. Well, some of the content going on is the Jets have a desk, a table, or whatever you want to call it, on Radio Row, and they've been interviewing some big names, including NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport. And, you know, you look at the Jets free agency money they have, they've got $79 million in change, according to Over the Cap. That is the fourth most in football. And a lot of us have been dreaming about some big free agent splashes, perhaps at the top of certain positions. However, NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport told Jets senior reporter Eric Allen, perhaps there's a different strategy at play for the Jets and free agency. Let's go to that footage.
The Jets definitely have a lot of money under the cap.
They do.
How do you think Darren Muji's going to approach this?
You know, I mean, I think a lot of people are expecting like this huge splashy offseason. I wonder about that because that's not really what the Jets need. They don't need 3 players making $20 million more. They need like 10 making like $6 million or more. You know, so I think back to the offseason that the Commanders had 2 years ago where they signed like 12 guys and they all were making like mid to upper tier free agent, but not the blockbusters. And they basically just rebuilt the roster with the draft picks that, you know, free agents taking the place of draft picks, essentially. I could see that kind of offseason from the Jets. I'm sure there'll be some splash, maybe a quarterback, but like I like the idea of like this is sort of it's not the sexiest free agency ever, but you can get some good players. I could see them rebuilding with a lot of mid to upper tier free agents.
A lot of mid to upper tier free agents. Again, we have more details in the article in the YouTube description down below, but let's sort of talk that out. I have not done a Boy Green mock off-season show where I tell you where I'd spend the money and things of that nature, and hopefully we'll have time to bang that out before free agency and legal tampering period and all that stuff before all that opens. But I will tell you guys that I can speak for me, we've dreamt of Tyler Linderbaum. NFL insider Jordan Schultz believes if Linderbaum makes it to the open market, by all accounts he will, he's going to make $22 million per season on his new deal. The highest paid center in football right now is $18 million per year. That's Creed Humphrey. So Tyler Linderbaum is set to get a market-setting contract from somebody. And again, Jet fans, myself included, I won't just speak for others, but myself, sign him, totally upgrade center over Josh Myers. That'd be great. Or there's some Alec Pierce fans in the audience. He's projected to get $25.5 million per season on his new deal if he reaches free agency, of course, if he doesn't get tagged. And that would be top 20 at the position of highest paid wide receivers in football. And so we've dreamt of these big, splashy names. Some people on the Trey Hendrickson thing. We've heard some people on the trade for A.J. Brown. Those are waters I don't want to swim in, with all due respect. But there's been some of this chatter about the splashes. But maybe Ian Rapoport is right. Maybe razor blades and lemon juice. What does that mean? A slow and painful death. Maybe multiple whacks at the tree. Not just 3 grandiose Paul Bunyan whacks. Tyler Linderbaum, booyah. Trey Hendrickson, booyah. Instead, maybe the Jets can divvy up this cap space that they have to address their needs. And if we're being honest, if we're being candid, the Jets have a lot of needs. In no particular order. Let's sort of walk through all this, okay? Quarterback. You need a starting quarterback. You're going to need a backup quarterback. I think they're going to blow up the entire room. So you need multiple quarterbacks. Breece Hall, it sounds like he's going to be here no matter what. So tag, long-term deal or something. They could probably use another running back, but they have Breece. They have Braylon coming off a serious injury, and you have Isaiah Davis. But so you're pretty covered. The meat of running back you sort of have addressed now with Breece Hall set to come back. Okay, wide receiver. Garrett Wilson's a stud. We all agree. But, how do you feel about Adonai Mitchell? To me, I don't have him as an unquestioned wide receiver 2. So I think there's a significant wide receiver need in the room. If our starting 2 tight ends are Jeremy Ruckert and Mason Taylor in no particular order, that's good. I have a lot of high hopes for Mason Taylor as a former top 50 pick, but you could probably use another guy in the room. So let's throw tight end in there. What the hell's happening at left guard? We've done shows on this. Is it John Simpson? Is it Elijah Vera Tucker? Is it some other guy in free agency? Maybe. Is it a draft thing? Perhaps. Again, we just talked about center. Could be an upgrade. You feel good at tackle. Tackle. You feel good at tackle. Okay. Olumuyiwa, Armand, you feel pretty good there. Okay. You do need depth. Chukwuma Okorafor is a free agent. We don't talk about him much. We didn't have to see him, thankfully, because the line stayed healthy. But Chukwuma Okorafor is a free agent. He's a key tackle reserve. Joe Tippmann's there at right guard. You feel pretty good about that. So, okay. Let's go to defense. Well, obviously, there's a massive gaping hole at defensive tackle, and that is Quinnen Williams no longer being there. Now, I like Harrison Phillips. I think he's a nice veteran. I like Jawan Briggs. Nice upside there. He's an ERFA. That means exclusive rights free agent, which is a fancy word just to say he's going to come back on a veteran minimum deal. So you're going to have Jawan, you're going to have Harrison, but you need more meat in that room. Especially if there's any schematic changes, potentially. And Aaron Glenn talked a little bit about that on the podium. We'll save that for a different show. We have all this other meat and potatoes to talk about. But you probably need some more defensive tackle help. Let's go to defensive end. You have Jermaine Johnson. He's another year removed off the Achilles, so he should be much better this season, I would think. Will McDonald is coming off. It's hard to say, but not hard to say. A disappointing season because, over the last 2 years, he's put up 18 and a half sacks. And, well, that's just from raw numbers. That's pretty good. But all of those came at a very spurty amount of games. So I think you need a third defensive end at least, and maybe more. I mean, the Jets were 31st in sack production last year. So you need defensive end help. We go to the second level of the defense, an off-ball linebacker. Jamian Sherwood, is he going to be here? Is he not going to be here? That's sort of TBD at this point. But let's assume he's going to be here, but you definitely need more help. Quincy Williams is exiting stage left, so you need some more off-ball linebacker help for the Jets. Francisco Mauigoa as a fifth-round pick was okay, not great. So you're going to need more depth there at linebacker and starting players for that matter. Let's go to the back end of the defense here. Malachi Moore is the only thing that is under contract at safety of significance for the New York Jets. Tony Adams, free agent. Andre Sisco, free agent. So you got to blow up that entire room. You're probably going to need, at at least bare minimum one starting safety, but probably two, because you want to have that depth just in case. And in the NFL today, we use a lot of the three safety combinations back there, so you're going to need some safety help. And then corner, we get into some debates about corner. We got into a lot of debates about corner. Brandon Stevens is going to be here. Pencil him in. Jarvis Brownlee. The media the media believes the fans are hyping up Jarvis Brownlee Jr. too much. They believe we've like penciled him in as a starting nickel, and they're like, Lee Corso, not so fast, my friends. So they give you a little bit of that heat. And then I'm begging to the Lord above that Azareye'h Thomas is ready for a starting role. But I'm not sure if I can just pencil that in. So to be candid, probably need another corner. So think about, and then place kicker. What's happened with Nick Folk? I have no idea. So think about all of that. Quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line in a variety of positions, defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker, safety corner. That's kicker. Boom. That's 9 things. And that's off the top of my head. Who knows about potential depth things, right? That you need other help. So that's a lot of needs. But you do have assets. You do have resources. Again, 4th most cap space in the NFL. You have a bunch of draft picks coming in. So you sort of have to assess that. But it's an interesting thought for me and Rapoport. Not big swings at a couple of guys. There will be a splash. And I agree with Ian. Inevitably, kicker is a splash. Inevitably. Kicker is kicker. Sorry. I saw your comment, NC Green, that threw me off on a kicker round 6 or 7. No. Obviously, quarterback is a splash. Hey, please give me back Nick Folk. But quarterback will inevitably be a splash for the Jets, whether it's draft, free agency, trade. Quarterback we talk about a lot. So that will be a splash. But overall, you just need a lot of meat and potatoes. You need a lot of just, let's put it this way. We're going to talk about foods. Tyler Linderbaum, Alec Pierce, Trey Hendrickson, even though I'm not a big fan of that one, but whatever. Those are tantalizing sweet treats. When you have a sweet, I'm not a big dessert guy, but for those that are out in the audience, this is what I hear. When you have a sweet treat, there's an adrenaline rush. There's a sugary, chocolatey something, and you get an immediate buzz. Like, wow, this is tasty. This is delicious. This is great. Okay. But then it wears away and then we get fat. Okay. Veggies, it doesn't taste good going in. To me, hopefully it does for people out there in the audience. And if you stay out in the audience, you love it, you're probably lying to yourself, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. Veggies, you eat like, this tastes like crap, but better for your long-term health. So maybe, just maybe, we're talking about Jets free agency construction here, that perhaps what's best for business is long-term health. Now, long-term health does not mean you suck in the immediate, but from a perception standpoint, signing a bunch of mid-tier free agents is not going to win headlines. It's not going to be splashy. The Jets are not going to receive these huge grades in free agency, but effective. And perhaps that fruit will bear during the 2026 season. Of course, you hope so. So, interesting thoughts from me and Rapoport. We hadn't thought about that much, and interesting of what he needs. All right, let's get some of your comments in here. Good morning, Coffee Club, for everyone that's in here. Troy Sturgis, Nagi Boko, glad to see you in here. Jared B, of course. Hope everyone's doing well. Old Yank says, I'll take that. Sounds smart in terms of the plan of doing more mid-tier free agents, according to your report. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind it or tune in to the article down in the YouTube description down below. I have a transcript of the answer. Old Yank says, we have to spend $50 million, though. A lot of moves will be it, I'd say. Yes, that is true. As Tony Pauline pointed out, we did a show about it over the weekend or something. According to the CBA, the Jets have to meet the minimum spending threshold. In other words, the Jets have to spend $50 million in 2026, which means front-loaded contracts and things of that nature will be coming. And there's no specific way that you have to spend it. Again, you could on multiple massive free agents, or you could nickel and dime. You could give a bunch of free agents, again, sort of what Ian explained there, 10 free agents, $6 million or more. Which again, if you let's just say you give 10 free agents $6 million per year, then that's $60 million, right? That's the quick math on that. Or you could do 3 free agents for $20 million apiece. Boom, $60 million. So you could get there a lot of different ways. But yes, they do have to spend that amount of money. Let's go to Harlem born Bronx bred says, I couldn't agree more with this approach. The team needs too much to make a bunch of big splashes. Again, it's not as sexy. I go to the movie Draft Day because I watch that every year, the movie Draft Day. And Anthony Molina, he is the fake owner in the movie of the Cleveland Browns. And he turns to Sonny Weaver Jr., his head coach, and he says, people pay to get wet. He says, people want to splash. And basically, he tells this whole diatribe about, people go to the summer parks and wait in line for 2 hours to get the big bucket of water that dumps on you. He says, people love a splash. People want to pay to get wet is the line from the movie. And people like splashes. But sometimes, the thing that isn't so obvious is sometimes the thing to do. Hep says, it looks like the Commanders may want to trade back to 16. I've heard Cleveland, too, from 6. They may want to trade back. Now, if you're the Jets, you just have to be careful because, again, we talk about this, right? Dessert thing versus what we need. And sure, it would be exciting for the Jets to take someone at 2 and then trade back up to like 6 or 7 or something and get someone awesome. Like, it'd be really cool. But the Jets also need a lot of starters, as we just highlighted. So there is a strong case to be made to either stick and pick with your 4 and your 4 inside the top 44. That would be 2. That'd be 16. That'd be 33, and that'd be 44. Or trade back. So stick and pick, take your 4, or trade back and extrapolate those assets. There is a case to be made for that. So we'll see. I'm going to be excited either way, probably. Yo Holmes, Brees 14 plus Linderbaum 22, 36 for 2 guys, not the best strategy. Yeah, right. Again, with the limited cap space, 79 million sounds like a lot, and it is. I'm not trying to, shame it anyway. That's the 4th most cap space in the league, but that could go pretty quick once you start making decisions. Franchise tag for Brees, if you got Linderbaum crazy money, and you can, the cap you can sort of contort in different ways, but yeah. Yeah, it could go quick, Yo Holmes. Old Yank says, I hope Braylon comes out stronger. I do too, man. I know a lot of us were very hyped up about Braylon, mini Derrick Henry vibes and things of that nature. Now, it's been hard to see on the field consistently since he's come into the league. Sometimes he's been buried on the depth chart or what have you. I would love to see him be a part of this team. Now, if the Jets pay Brees all the way we all expect with a tag and then potentially a long-term deal, obviously Brees is going to have to be the straw that stirs the drink for sure. Obviously the money says that, but that can totally happen in terms of him getting paid some buco bucks. But what's going to happen here is getting Braylon some work too, because Brees Hall has gotten nicked up over the last couple of years. He's played through a lot of stuff, but we're going to have to make sure we spread the butter evenly on the toast. I was checking to see if we were going to have a special guest today here on the show, and we in fact will, live from the Combine. So yes, I am just confirming via text. Yes, that works. Okay, beautiful. So we will have beat reporter Nick Faria live from the NFL Combine. Looking forward to that. He'll be joining us at 8:15. He'll be on a little shorter than normal. He'll be on for 30 minutes with us, but appreciate Nick working us in. So we'll have Nick on in just a little bit to join us here on the show. That'd be great. Okay, just texted him. There you have it. So we'll have Nick Ferry on at 8:15. Thank you, Nick, for that. So we'll tune in with Nick live from the Combine, and he could tell us, I guess, his crazy story of getting over there. Old Yank says, Wan'Dale Robinson, please. Yes, the New York Giants pass catcher. He's a talented dude for sure, and if you sort of pull it up here, let me pull up Wan'Dale Robinson. I want to make sure I get his height and weight correct. I think I had it in my head, but yeah, so here he is. He is listed at 5'8", 185 pounds. He's 25. He just turned 25 in January. Former second-round pick of the Giants. He's super talented, and he ate. When Malik Neighbors went down last season, he put up the best numbers of his career, which, by the way, obviously should be surprising. Neighbors sort of has the passing game revolve around him. Yeah, here was the season for Wandale: 92 catches, 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, 11 yards per reception. That was also a career high. So career high in yards, career high in yards per reception, career high in touchdowns. He was just off his career high in receptions. The previous year, he had 93 catches. So Wandale's an interesting guy. I'd imagine with that size, sometimes you're going to have to get creative to get him the ball. And then you have Garrett, who's like 6 flat. You've got Wandale would be like 5'8". I guess Adonai brings you a little bit. Let me see what Adonai Mitchell is listed at in terms of building our wide receiver room. He's 6'2". So yeah, you could probably use a bigger guy too. I'm curious if the Jets made a significant free agent splash, which it would probably take for Wandale. Would they still get a Denzel Boston? Would they still get a bigger guy in the 6'4" range? Or would that be overkill? Or how they view A.D. Mitchell? I guess that's sort of how it depends. But Wandale's talented. That'd be a nice pass catcher dip. I like that thought, old Yank. Sure. Hep. After Nick Mangold's passing, it would be great to have the best center in the NFL. There would be something very special about that. Again, the money's going to get crazy for Linderbaum. I'm not surprised by that. It should get crazy. Linderbaum's a super talented player. Again, I've said this a few times, but as Jet fans, I'm 32. I turned 33 in April. If you're of my age, or even a little older, to be honest with you, we've had the best of the best of the best center play from about 1998 to about 2016. That was the spanning of the career of Nick Mangold to Kevin, or vice versa, excuse me, Kevin Mawai to Nick Mangold, God rest his soul. So if we could, I mean, yeah, centers are the captains of your offensive line. They call out the pass protections. There's a special symbiotic relationship that exists, of course, between whoever your center is and whoever your quarterback is. So there would be something sort of special about that, Hep. There's no question. I'm curious if the Jets, again, considering their position, right? They're coming off this 3-14 year. Do they spend the buco bucks? Let's say Tyler Linderbaum would come here, but it's going to cost unbelievable money that we've talked about. We're talking about market-setting deals. Would the Jets be willing to do that? Would the Jets be willing to push a majority of their chips in that line? That I'm curious about, and I'm not sure. But a good thought. Thank you, Hep, for the comment. NC Green on YouTube says defensive tackle at 16 could make sense. There's a couple of guys potentially that makes sense. The one that I've been seeing the most popular in terms of defensive tackle has been Peter Woods out of Clemson. I have seen that a lot for sure as a potential there at defensive tackle. The defensive tackle options, quite frankly, in free agency are booty cheeks, folks. It's John Franklin Myers and a bunch of guys, and I like JFM, but with JFM being like really the only notable guy, the problem is he's going to get overpaid. With good for him to get overpaid, but he's the best defensive tackle that's out there. Other options, of course, Caden McDonald. He's been a popular spot there at 16. The Ohio State defensive tackle, 6'3", 326 pounds. That's another one. Again, I just talked about Peter Woods out of Clemson. He's another one in the draft that gets some love, that gets some attention at those positions. Here's Mel Kiper's. I have his positional rankings in front of me here. So there's Cade McDonald, Lee Hunter. I didn't mention him, obviously. That's another good name off the Texas Tech defense. Caleb Banks is another one. He didn't play a lot last year, so you're betting on the upside there out of Florida. There's Kristen Miller out of Georgia. Darrell Jackson Jr. out of Florida State. Dominique Orange, a.k.a. Big Citrus from Iowa State, is in this mix. Rayshawn Benny out of Michigan. Grace Halton out of Oklahoma. Caleb Proctor out of SC Southeast Louisiana. And then we get beyond the top 10, we get into some names. But those first round guys are, I've heard Caden McDonald, I've heard Peter Woods, I've heard Caleb Banks. Lee Hunter may move into that category. Let's see what happens. Obviously, today is NFL Combine Day, folks. The on-field activities begin today at 3 o'clock. And that's the only part of the combine I'm going to miss because we have Boy Green Meets Woody today, so we'll have a show at 3 o'clock. But as soon as that's over, I am running to the NFL combine coverage. And that will be starting today at 3 o'clock, Friday at 3 o'clock, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and then Saturday and Sunday, both days will start at 1 o'clock. So we'll be off to the races in terms of the combine coverage, which I will be attached to at the hip. Old Yank, Paul, do you think we keep, or excuse me, Old Yank asked, do you think we keep John Mechie, BG? Yes, John Mechie is an RFA, that is a restricted free agent. I saw Greg Allman, he's an NFL insider for NFL on Fox. He said John Mechie is a top 3 restricted free agent this year. So he is thought of quite highly in the restricted free agent community here. I'm curious what the Jets are going to do here. Here are the restricted free agent tenders. I like trying to explain some of this stuff when I can, of the types of free agents and the money that's available. So here is over the cap. These are the RFA tenders that are available. You can do a first-round tender, a second-round tender, a right of first refusal, or original round tender. Now, John Mechie originally was a second-round draft choice. So I don't believe they're going to go to that category, personally. I don't. But the reason why that all matters, he was the 44th overall pick. I just want to get the specifics. The difference in okay, let me explain this, I guess. So on franchise tags and transition tags, there's no round tender. It's either exclusive, not exclusive, or transition. There's no, first round, second round, third round, fourth round. That doesn't exist. That only exists in restricted free agency. So here are the restricted free agent tenders. If someone gets placed, if John Mechie, let's use him as the example, because obviously he's the player we're talking about. If he gets placed with a first-round tender, they slap an RFA first-round tender on John Mechie. That would be worth $8.1 million. What would that mean? If another team signs John Mechie to an offer sheet and the Jets don't match it, they would get a first-round pick. But obviously no one's doing that. So $8.1 million is too expensive. They're not doing it. A second-round tender is $5.8 million. Again, I don't think the Jets are doing that. Again, if the Jets did not match that offer, they would get a second-round draft choice in exchange. They would not get that for John Mechie. I believe what's really going to happen here is so the question is, do I think that they keep John Mechie? I think they attempt to keep John Mechie. I think they could place the right of first refusal tender on John Mechie, which would be $3.5 million, far more reasonable. And I think for $3.5 million for a wide receiver, what would he be? So we got Garrett, AD. I see us grabbing another 2, so 1, 2, 3. So like a wide receiver 4, 5, somewhere in that range, maybe for John. That could be fine. Yeah, $3.5 million. That's nothing crazy. If they find him worth developing. Again, he had some painful drops at the end of last year, and those were super annoying. And he had that happen quite frequently, which was sort of annoying. But yeah, young receiver upside. Well, yeah, why not? I'd probably put the right of first refusal tender on him, which again is $3.5 million. He would be allowed to explore the marketplace. If anyone signed into a deal, the Jets would have the right to match. If they matched it, they get him at that deal. If they don't match, they lose him for nothing. And if he signs no deal, like no one offers him, then he could just sign his tender and he would play this season on that 1-year deal for $3.5 million. So I think they'll try to keep him. Long story short, John Mechie, he's 25. He turns 26 over the summer. Why not? Yeah. Let's do the $3.5 million right of first refusal. Yo Holmes has a plan. All right, let's hear it. From the second round, we could take converted guard from Iowa, Duker, to replace ABT, or Slaughter center from Florida, or wait till the fourth round for Logan Jones. That's what a smart team would do. Mid-round selections on the interior. Yeah, that could make sense. They should have a multi-pronged approach, I think. Yes, restricted free agent for John Mechie. Restricted free agent. Yeah. NC Green says safety in round 2 could make a lot of sense. Again, I got Mel Kiper's big board here at safety. Here are the names that he has. Caleb Downs, of course, who we talked about a lot out of Ohio State. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, I've seen him sometimes mocked to the Jets at 44, 33. Man, Daniel Jeremiah pretty consistently has him as a top 20 pick and sometimes even in the top 15. I don't think Emmanuel McNeil Warren is making it out, especially, again, he's not the player I'm about to mention, but people will try to draw those comparisons of Nick Emanwari copy, and he is not. He is 6'2", 202, but people could try to sort of attempt to speak that into existence. We'll see how he performs at the combine. But I think he's going to end up going in the first round. You have Dylan Thieneman. We've talked about him out of Oregon. He's on this list. Kyle Lewis at a Pitt. Bud Clark at a TCU is a favorite of Matt Miller's. You have Kamari Ramsey at a USC, Zakee Wheatley at a Penn State, Genesis Smith at a Arizona, AJ Halsey. I think they have it misread here, but AJ Halsey. They have it written incorrectly on Mel Kiper's big board here. And Jelon Kilgore out of South Carolina. Those are the names in the top 10 at the safety position. So pretty good depth, it looks like. Like you could definitely, like Dylan Thieneman, we'll see where he ends up going, but I've seen him in mock drafts to the Jets at 44. So there's nothing wrong with that. You have 4 picks inside the top 44. Safeties on the table. Edge rusher certainly on the table. I'm talking about anywhere in that top 44. Wide receivers on the table. Defensive tackles on the table. There's a lot of different ways you could go there. Back to Yo Holmes here. He says, the idea Mechie and Mitchell are real dudes is just that, an idea. We desperately need to upgrade the wide receiver room for years now. Yeah, I just saw someone with a notable following. I can't remember who it was, but they were saying anyone who says the Jets have a need at wide receiver for the Jets are stupid. And he said, Mechie, A.D. Mitchell. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Garrett I love, but he missed 10 games last year. And it was painful. Like, I think a lot of us feel we have Garrett, okay, and we get a new guy, and the new guy hopefully draws attention away from Garrett, or he is the beneficiary because of Garrett, and you're like, sweet, when they're both on the field, that's awesome. And if Garrett ever misses time, we want whoever this new wide receiver is to be able to hold down the fort if Garrett's ever hurt. So I think people that are blowing up Mechie and Mitchell, with all due respect, I hope that they play above their means. I hope A.D. Mitchell, who's a dart throw, young kid, super talented, of course, I hope he takes his next leap. But I'm not banking on that. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, he's wide receiver too. Oh, we'll be fine. Nah, I don't know about all that. I do not know about all that at all. No, sir. Let's see. Welcome Hop on Pop, who just joined the Octagon. Great to have you. Appreciate it. Hop on Pop. Let's go to one of his comments. 2024, the Jets won the offseason. How did that work out? Let's get the lunchbox mid-level free agents. I believe you're talking about 2023, probably, right? Oh, no, I guess 2024, the Tyron Smiths of the world and stuff like that, I suppose. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Well, 2023 was Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, I don't know. We always try to win the offseason, long story short. Maybe it's time to not win the offseason, win the real season. Yeah. Hop on Pop says fill holes by priority gaps. That could make sense. Nancy Green, are you better with a few really good players or a larger bunch of mid-tier players? I like the former. Okay, there you go. I don't know. It's a good debate to have, though. That a couple of massive straws that stir the drink could influence enough, or just having a lot of guys that just sort of raise the level of the overall team. You can make arguments both ways. We have over 200 people in the room, including over 100 on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys like the video, baby. That's a free way to contribute here on the program. I'd appreciate it out there in the audience. We only have 38 likes, but over 100 people in the room. So let's change that real quick. As my father likes to say, take that like button to Pound Town. I'd appreciate that. The audience also, if you're not subscribed, jumped on the subscribe train. We're only a handful of subscribers away from 8,400. So help us get there. That'd be awesome. We got some fun guests coming up this offseason, which will be a real hoot. I got a couple booked for after the combine, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. William Ameley says there could be a trade or two in the mix of off-season activity. I could see that at quarterback for the Tanner McKees of the world we talked about. Could be at wide receiver potentially. Trying to think of what other positions we could see. Yeah, quarterback, wide receiver. Those are the popular ones that make sense. Again, if the Jets tagged and traded Brees Hall, that would be another one. But that would be players exiting, then players coming. Yeah, those are a couple. Yeah, we could see that. That's possible. Totally on the table. Sure. I hope they get creative. Again, the Harrison Phillips surprise. Nice. Juwan Briggs. Hey, okay. So I don't mind that. Not everyone has to be blockbuster first-round picks and everything. Jojo. Thank you, Jojo, for chiming in. Jets need to keep all their picks. Team has no depth. Yeah, they do lack depth in several key areas. So, we want all our picks back. That would make a lot of sense, Jojo. The Jets do have a lot of needs. Maybe, trade back, if anything, I guess. Tank for Ty has chimed in. Reese Urbane at 2, Ty friggin' Simpson at 16. I mean, Ty Simpson at 33 would be a little tasty if you swim in those waters. Potentially. Or just punt on it completely and wait till 2027, I guess, and build out your team. That'd be another way to do it. Although a rookie would be tantalizing, exciting, for sure. Someone to say, maybe that guy could be the guy. That'd be nice. James Kennedy says, I'd like to trade out of the number 2 pick. As would I, James. As would I. I would absolutely like to trade out of number 2, but can you trade out of number 2? Well, that's going to be a question for plenty out there in the audience. Well, we'll get back to your comments here in just a little bit, but we've got one of the most well-traveled beat reporters in the history of mankind. Beat reporter Nick Ferry of Jets X Factor went on a road trip, the likes we've never seen. And we bring him in right now here on the show, live from the NFL. Nick Ferry, how are you, pal?
How you doing, buddy? Great to be on.
How are you? Let me ask you, pal. Like, let me get you. You can turn sideways and lay on a comfy couch. What the hell? For people that aren't on Twitter, can you please explain the magical carpet ride you took to the NFL Combine?
Yeah, so it's got to start, and part of it is enjoying the experience. So this is also a family trip.
Okay.
And my father passing away, the family, we all loved he loved the NFL, loved the Combine. I went last year, and he absolutely loved hearing the story. So the plan was this year we were going to go in honor of him. So that was part of the process. Problem is my family all got out over the weekend. I said, no, I've got a flight. The snowstorm's not going to be as bad. We'll be perfectly fine. And then my full-time employment, they said, oh, book a hotel the next day because the trains are going to be stopped and you're not going to be able to get out. And I said, crap, I got to figure out a way to get to Indy if that's going to happen. So my flight got canceled. Every flight got canceled through Wednesday. And quite frankly, I said, I'm not waiting till Wednesday for the NFL Scouting Combine. Aaron Glenn talks Tuesday. Players talk Wednesday, these kinds of things. I want to be here for these kind of instances. And my family was there. They were wanting to celebrate. They wanted to be a part of these experiences. We have workouts today, so they want to see everything.
Yeah.
Well, I said, okay, well, I can wait until Wednesday. I can try to get to Pittsburgh and take a flight, but the flights are astronomical. I mean, they were like over $600, $700. I'm like, I'm not paying for a $700 flight that's an hour and a half. Absolutely
not.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? Screw it. I've done long drives before. I'll just rent a car and everything will be good. But then Mom Donnie, the mayor of New York City, says, actually, we are in a state of emergency. No one's allowed outside. No one's allowed on the roads. So I say, okay, well, now I have to wait till noon. So my idea was get my rental car at like 9:30 a.m. and have everything set, ready to go then, and I'll be in to Indiana at 10 o'clock. Well, that got pushed off to 1 because you have to get there and do all these different things. So by the time I was on the road, it is 1 o'clock. The 12-hour, it's usually a 12-hour trip. That takes me to what? 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, okay, we'll be fine. Everything will be okay. We just got to stop a couple times. We'll be fine. But then the problem was New Jersey did not plow the roads. I will give Mamdani credit. These roads were immaculate in New York. In New York, absolutely no problems whatsoever. He did a great job with that. I will listen. I political aside, all these other things, he did a phenomenal job with that. Phenomenal job.
Okay.
However, the minute we got to Jersey, every goddamn road was just covered in snow and ice. Just absolutely covered. I don't know what Mickey Sherrill was doing. It was an absolute eyesore. You couldn't move 2 feet without going like 10 miles an hour. So that backed everything up by like 30 minutes. So by the time I get to Pennsylvania, I'm annoyed. It's like 4 o'clock. The time is bumped back by like 30 minutes. And I said, okay, whatever. Just get there when we get there. So I stopped. My first stop happened around Pittsburgh. And I said, okay, we got 6 more hours to go. It's 6 o'clock. I think it was like 6, 7 o'clock. Let's power through and get there. And then we get to Dayton or Cincinnati, whatever goddamn city in Ohio I stopped at. And I literally stopped and I'm like, I am going to die. Like, this is a very scary thing because your eyes are starting to droop. You're trying to keep this going straight and everything else.
Jesus.
My carpool was not a carpool because people realized I don't want to go out in this. They were probably smarter than me. But by the time we got to Indianapolis, I had extended my car rental service because I was not going to the airport then to take an Uber. That was not going to happen. And I check in and I let my wife know, like, hey, we got in, everything's okay. She's like, great. Don't ever. Have you seen Major League?
I have. Yes.
Okay, so it's literally the line of, hey, that's a great job. Don't ever bleep and do it again. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm never doing this crap again. Jesus.
Yeah. Wow. So when did you get to the combine, and what did you arrive on Tuesday? Was it?
So yeah, Tuesday morning at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God. And then AG and Muji and company were set to speak basically less than 10 hours later. So, oh my God, that is, all right. Well, I guess let's go there. While you were awake, hopefully for listening to Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, we'll start off with Aaron Glenn, who spoke first. What were your takeaways from Aaron Glenn's media availability?
I will say I liked some of the things he said. I thought his answer regarding Frank Reich not only was probably correct, but it was also the smart plan. Listen, I wanted someone with experience, but I also wanted to pair him with younger coaches to sort of modernize the scheme. That is an example of Aaron Glenn having the pulse of what his team needs. He needs someone who can sequence play calls at a high level, but also have an offensive system that is not archaic. The only way you protect that with someone like Frank Reich is you bring in young coaches. Seth Ryan, I think, is it's one of the better hires this offseason for the Jets. I'm very high on him as a passing game coordinator. I thought that was a very smart move. But for every positive answer, I will say, I do think he went out of his way to kind of hurt himself a little bit. His comment of play calling is my superpower, I think we all can envision at some point in the 2026 NFL season of that coming back to bite him. And in that way, I really think that he hasn't exactly learned as much as he should from last year. Last year, at times, it seemed like he got himself into trouble. It seemed like some comments were being made, and then he would walk back those comments. The top one, for example, beginning of the season, he says, we want to build a team that this fan base is going to be proud of. Nothing wrong with saying that. But then 3 months later, they're 1-7. He says, well, I want them to be proud, but I didn't say right now. It's that kind of back and forth that is not going to endear you to the fan base. And yeah, it's, play calling is my superpower. There's nothing wrong with that. And in some ways, I think he is an upgrade over Steve Wilkes. But, do they have the players to have that kind of upgrade? Are they going to be able to bring in and adjust accordingly? there are still serious questions, even with him as the play caller. And I, again, there's nothing wrong with him saying it. He's well within his right to say it. But I can envision week 10, if this team is like 2-7 and their defense is bottom half of the league again, that comment coming back to bite them.
You can answer this better than me, Nick, because you've been in front of Aaron Glenn a lot more than me. But this was an observation I had beyond, I don't want to say beyond the questions, because I guess that feeds into it too. I was curious when Aaron Glenn stepped up to that podium, what was his tone going to be? He's coming off a 3-14 year. He just blew the bleep out of his coaching staff. Like, is he going to come with that same AG energy from a year ago of like, I'm Aaron Glenn, baby. What do you want for your quarterback? Winning. This, that. I thought the tone from AG was a lot different. And I don't know if it was subconscious, like, it just sort of happened, or he was beaten down with the 3-14 year and a slice of humble pie, perhaps, deliver this result. Did you, because again, you were with him, in front of him as things were going on, and now you were just in front of him here on Tuesday. Did you notice the same thing, that there seemed to be a much different tone to AG when he was speaking, or not?
Yeah, and I noticed that at the end of your press conference as well. He is far more subdued, not trying to pick fights, that kind of thing, go back and forth. I do see that potentially being part of the future, and maybe that helps him down the road. But I'm also going to be writing an article about this. It seems like the dynamics of the organization have shifted. It is no longer just Aaron Glenn being the head honcho, making all the final decisions and everything else. Darren Mushi is far more involved in these processes now, and I think it's mostly because most Jets fans can see if there was one person that was impressive last year, outside of maybe special teams coordinator Chris Banjo for the job that he did, it was Darren Mushi. How many times do Jets fans complain that they didn't get the right guy in the first round? And everyone says, well, it's the easiest thing to do if you hit on a first-round pick. But it's actually not. The fact that Darren Mushi was able to correctly understand what the team needed, the value of each position, and then say, Armand Membu is our guy. This is a no-brainer decision. We're going to run up and put the card in. That is 100% for him. That's a plus in his repertoire. And then you bring in a guy like Jawan Briggs before the regular season. Briggs was easily their best defensive lineman. You're able to trade away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams for King's ransoms on both counts. Multiple first-round picks, 5 total first-round picks in the next 2 drafts. That's impressive. That is a sign of a GM that understands what he needs to do. And I do think that we have gotten to a point now where this is no longer just Aaron Glenn's team. I think we're getting to a point where Darren Mushi has just as much say, if not a little bit more power than he originally had going into last year.
That's an interesting takeaway. Let's go to the other presser. Darren Muji spoke right after Aaron Glenn. Obviously, the Breece Hall comments have gone viral, and he has made his stance clear, so feel free to comment on that. But did you have takeaways on that? And then, quite frankly, anything else that Muj had to say?
Yeah, listen, I don't think anyone's surprised in the slightest that they are going to retain Breece Hall. I think that's where it was heading before. And the fact that he openly said, we either get a long-term deal done or he's going on the tag, and then we'll just keep negotiating. Yeah. Again, a sign of a good GM. He is just, it is blunt. This is what we're doing. We're going to try to get a long-term deal done, but we're not going to go over our price range, and then we will determine whatever tag that we want. Thought it was interesting letting Elijah Vera Tucker and John Simpson walk in free agency, but that's also a sign where the guard market over the last couple of years has completely just gone insane. There are too many okay guards making a crap ton of money. And I think it was Hunt in Miami that made somewhere around like $18-20 million.
Oh yeah, on the Panthers deal, and right?
He was never a top 20. He was never a top 10 guard in the NFL. So those kind of instances where Muji is not going to overspend on a guy like Elijah Vera Tucker or John Simpson, he will let them go into free agency and negotiate, contracts moving forward. But then he'll probably get one last say and say, okay, let's go a little bit extra. If Elijah Vera Tucker is making $12 million a year, let's go up to 14. If John Simpson's making, could potentially get $8 million, let's go up to $10 million and be done with it. That's an interesting plan. It's also a gamble because if these two get contracts by contenders that are much better than people expect, then there's no why would they want to go back to the Jets? Why would they want to go back and say, okay, well, here's the price range. We're not giving you a hometown discount. Pay me a little bit more. I don't see that happening. So it's interesting to see how they handle the guard situation. I am a firm believer that one of them should be retained, simply because you want to keep this line together. It was the best thing going for you all year. Why would you change it? So I do think they will try to keep one of them. If I were a betting man right now, it's probably Elijah Vera Tucker. Not only was he a draft pick, but when he's healthy, he's actually a very talented guard. The big question, of course, is health. So maybe that lowers the price range a little bit. The guard conversation certainly important. Breece Hall certainly important. And then, of course, you talk to about Will McDonald. Sounds like the fifth-year option is going to be used. Yeah, and I don't think it's going to deter them at all from drafting an edge rusher. And right now, I will say, in terms of ranking each player and each potential fit, we're going to hear from Caleb Downs today in a couple of hours. But if I were a betting man and trying to pinpoint exactly where each ranking is, it's probably Arvell Reese at the top, David Bailey at 2, and then Ruben Bain calmly at 3. And I think all three are plug-and-play performers. But the idea of having Reese and his upside on this defense with Aaron Glenn calling plays is an enticing proposition.
There's no question about it. Again, we're speaking with beat reporter Nick Ferry of JetsXFactor.com. He's down there at the NFL Combine, baby, and spending some time with us, which we appreciate Nick doing. Yeah, I will be honest, that was mine as well, that Muji came out so emphatically, yeah, Breece Hall, you're not going anywhere. And then, all right, what about John Simpson or ABT? We'll see what happens. So I was like, oh, wow, okay, that was very lukewarm. I'm curious here. On a sense on ABT, it seems like a lot of people think that there's a chance that he just gets basically the same deal from everyone in the league. 1 year, prove it. That's all we're doing. And maybe that's so, and then he picks it. Or that someone just sees the age and goes, you know what? F it. We're going to waste our money on something. Why not waste it on a guy and potentially hit the jackpot here if he stays healthy and he gets a multi-year deal with some nice money? What do you think is more likely? Is it the prove it deal situation, or do you think a team would actually be willing to potentially give him that multi-year deal I'm sure he's seeking?
I think there's only one team right now, maybe two, that would offer Elijah Vera Tucker a long-term deal.
Okay.
And one of them has a guard coming back from injuries that earned $20 million in a contract extension last year. So I don't see that happening. The other is maybe Kansas City. I think they could be looming in that way because they need to fix their offensive line. And they could say, listen, we're going to throw gambles out there. We need to be a lot better than we have, and we have cap space. So I think the Chiefs certainly could make sense. This isn't me saying that they're going to. It's throwing a team out there.
Sure.
But I agree. I think most people are going to say, listen, we're not going to hitch our wagon to a multi-year deal with a player that has a torn triceps, a torn Achilles twice, and we're just going to move on like that. 3 years, $15 million. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what his market is. And that's also why Darren Muji is saying, go negotiate. Tell me what you have, because he's not going to negotiate with himself. That's, again, a sign of a good GM. He's not going to sit there and say, well, I will give you $10 million. Well, I want 12. Well, how about 14? That's not going to happen. He's going to let the market dictate what the team does, and then they will come to a decision. So I do believe that one of them will return. It's just a question of on what salary, on how many years. And when it comes to Elijah Vera Tucker, I would think that it's probably a 1 year prove it deal, and the Jets are going to have to increase the price significantly in order to keep him around.
Nick, I want to go to the start of the show today. We played a clip from the interview between NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport and Jets senior reporter Eric Allen. And essentially, EA asked Ian, what does he think the Jets are going to do in free agency? And he says he's heard a lot of people say about big splashes. And he didn't mention any players, but all us Jet fans like, ooh, Tyler Linderbaum, ooh, Alec Pierce or something, or whatever is going to happen. Some of these top-of-the-market guys. Ian says what I think they really need is not the couple of swings at a lot of money. It's the Washington Commanders offseason from 2 years ago where 10 players got paid $6 million as opposed to 2 or 3 getting paid $20 million. And he believes that's the direction the Jets are going to go. Your reaction to that is what?
That's a smart thing to do. Again, it's if I got into this argument a couple days ago about Tyler Linderbaum. Yeah. Does Tyler Linderbaum solve any major need on the New York Jets? Is he an upgrade over Josh Myers? Of course.
Yes, yeah.
Of course. Right. But the Jets' offensive line was a top 10 unit last year. Like, they were objectively one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. So why are you going to spend a fourth of your salary cap on a center?
Yeah.
As opposed to $20 million total at safety, $20 million total on the defensive line. You could give $20 million to a receiver and keep him on the roster for a long period of time, and that changes how the offense looks. I would agree with Ian that I don't see the massive splash, but also let's ask the question: how many can't miss free agents are available this year?
I think Linderbaum would be on my list for sure, but I don't know beyond that how many people I feel about it.
That's the thing. There's a lot of guys that are okay players, but there's no elite Derrick Henry, Saquon Brown. Like a couple of years ago, the free agent running back market was absurd. Josh Jacobs, Barkley, Henry, DeAndre Swift. He's been phenomenal in Chicago. And all 4 guys went on the first day.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. That's not really what this free agent class is. So if you're the Jets, instead of paying Linderbaum $20 million a year, or sounds like it's going to be more than.
Yeah, right.
What exactly are you trying to get out of this free agent haul? Are you just trying to throw a big name out there to get people excited? What along the offensive line showed you last year that they needed an infusion of talent? Nothing to me. They need more depth, of course, but you can get that by paying guys $2 to $5 million a year, not paying a center $20 million. The other piece is with Linderbaum, there are a lot of other offensive line needy teams that are going to pay a lot more money. The number one team on that list is probably the Las Vegas Raiders, because if they are going to draft Fernando Mendoza right now, they are setting him up for absolute catastrophic failure because this offensive line is an absolute atrocious mess.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Raiders' offensive line compared to the Jets, it's not even close. It's not even close. So I think they'll be in on Linderbaum. I think they have the cap space to do it. That would make a lot of sense. The Giants, of course, are going to do it, even though they do not need a center. And, of course, it sounds like the Baltimore Ravens don't want to let Linderbaum leave the building. It doesn't fit. There's no fit there for the Jets. Yes, he's an upgrade over Josh Myers, but just because you can get an upgrade at center doesn't mean you should. If Myers is a good player and you can get quality starting edge rushers and you can get a Romeo Doubs or an Alec Pierce, all that combined is a lot better than just paying Tyler Linderbaum $20 million. It's just the fact. There's the other side of the coin where the Jets are going to have to extend Joe Tippmann. That contract extension's got to come in, and that has to be done. Phenomenal season last year. Clearly looks like a future at right guard. But that's an extension that needs to be taken care of. So I would agree with Ian Rapoport in the mindset of this team needs a lot of talent. Instead of paying one guy $20 million, pay 5 guys $5 million who are quality starters and who can fit within the mold of what the team wants to do. So I don't see it happening where they're going to pay a top guy $1 billion, an exorbitant amount of money when they have so many needs on the roster.
All right, Nick, you've been at the Combine for a couple of days. I just have one question. Who the hell's playing quarterback for the Jets? Have you cracked that code yet? What the hell's going on?
All right, so just to show you exactly what I have heard to this
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
The first day, I heard, hey, don't sleep on Kyler Murray. Hey, by the way, Tanner McKee's available in a trade. Oh, and also keep an eye, Jacoby Brissett fits what they're looking for. Wednesday rolls around, and I hear Tanner McKee, keep an eye on him. Oh, they're going to be on Malik Willis too, $35 million. And then it was, Derek Carr. They're gonna be in on him 100%. No one freaking knows. I've heard so many quarterback names, and really what it really tells me is Muji and Glenn haven't made up their minds. They haven't come to that decision yet.
Is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think so. Because if you could, for me, Ball, rank the top 5 quarterbacks the Jets can acquire this offseason, I think a majority of them would be ranked maybe 20 to 25th on most quarterback lists.
That's probably true. Yeah.
So you're sitting there. It's an upgrade, of course, over Justin Fields, but by how much? And in reality, the Jets have to get in a quarterback. They have to play a lot better, so they need someone who's competent. If I were in charge, I think I would want to give Tanner McKee a shot. But I am not in charge. I am merely just a reporter providing my 2 cents. And it's one of those things where there is no can't miss guy that's going to be available to them in free agency. There's a lot of questions for every single guy that's going to be available. And it tells me that the Jets haven't made up their mind yet. They're going to wait and see how this process goes on before they jump and say, this is our guy.
So I'm a big fan of the Rich Eisen show, and one of my favorite bits he does all year is, of course, he's at the Combine. Shout out to Jake. He just had him on again, so that's terrific. He's going to start the coverage today, television coverage for the next couple of days doing it. And when he gets back on his Rich Eisen show, one of the bits he does is, here are the top 5 craziest things I heard, like at the Combine. And he makes all these rules, like I have to hear it twice, and I have to hear it from different people and sources and all this other stuff before I will even say it on the show and vet it all out. I'm like, all right. And so he hears some crazy shit. And every year I'm like, oh man, what the hell did he hear this year? So I go to you, Nick. Has there any, and where is the best place to hear these things? Is it like at restaurants at night? Is it just walking around the convention center? And you just run into somebody and you're overhearing conversations? Because Daniel Jeremiah told the story in the Rich Eisen show like 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was. They were traveling either to the Super Bowl or the Combine. It must have been the Super Bowl. And he was just in an airport and he's minding his own business. He's sitting at one of those laptop like little islands. He's sitting there and he overhears a conversation and he says, I'm not going to reveal who it was, but it was a head coach and a general manager of an AFC team. And they spilled their guts on all kinds of things they're going to be doing this offseason. And Daniel was at his computer and he just stopped and went, am I supposed to be hearing this? But he figured out who they were, but he's like, geez. He says, I won't name names, but whoever those people, warning shot to the rest, like sort of be careful who you're just blathering about. Cause he said they were giving all kinds of proprietary information to this random airport and you never know who's sitting by you. So again, you never know where this information will come from. So again, where is the best place to be getting this information at the Combine when rumor mill and all this stuff is happening, when you have agents and players and you have all 32 teams that have rained down upon Indianapolis?
I think it's a collection of sometimes at dinners, sometimes in the lobby. I was walking out and I walking out of the convention center yesterday, and I saw Drew Rosenhaus talking to Brandon Beane, and I'm like, okay, here we go. What's going on here? Yeah. That kind of thing. And I didn't hear any of the conversations. You don't want to intrude everything like that, but it was just okay. Time to go to my reservation. Something's going on here. Keep an eye on the Bills this offseason. But probably the crazy. I don't know if there's any crazy rumors that I've heard to this point. Yeah. There's still a few more days left and everything, and people are still meeting. I will just say I think this is probably Lamar Jackson's final year in Baltimore. I think that I think
what?
I think this may be Lamar Jackson's final year in Baltimore.
Where did that come from? What? Wait, what? You're like, I haven't really heard anything crazy, but hey, let me just throw this on you. Lamar Jackson last year in Baltimore. Huh? Who? What? What the hell happened?
It's more of just the a lot of things have come out about Lamar Jackson as a player, as a
All right.
person.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think, there are people concerned in the organization, and I do think that there may come a point where they just say this is not worth it.
Mm. Okay, that's juicy. Nick, take us through. You now have been there. You got there very early on Tuesday. You had yesterday. Now, obviously, today is Thursday as we're recording the show live here on the show. Can you take us through a day in the life of Nick Ferry at the NFL Combine? You wake up at when? What do you do? You're writing articles. You're going to these prospect podium tables. Like you're rubbing elbows. Like, so what is happening at the NFL Combine for people? I hope one day I'm with you doing some of this stuff, but for people that may never go to the combine and only hear these stories, walk us through a day in the life.
Well, you got to remember, I'm also here with family, so it's kind of like
Right,
dual
yes.
roles and
Okay.
having those kinds of things. So during the morning, my family's not really moving around that much, so I'll go to the convention center. I'll sit through some interviews, talk to some people, see what's going on, and then probably around like lunchtime, we'll spend some time together, go through there. Today's the first day of workouts, so not really sure what exactly the plan is there. We're still going to be conversing that, but it's been a great time. It's been a great time, been a great experience.
So, Nick, I have to ask, as we're closing up shop here, was it worth the trip?
Oh, absolutely! It was absolutely worth the trip. It was worth the trip. It's just not something that I will do again. 14 hours. It's not indicative to quality health. Hey, let's just put it that way.
I would say not.
Sitting 14 hours. I mean, the next day, the one thing I will say, my full-time employment, they prepare me for kind of staying up for long hours.
Sure, right. Okay.
Which is great because it had me prepared. But I was up for 31 hours at that point. So I was just out. I was done. I was ready to just, curl up in a ball and just die. So it's a great experience. I absolutely love everything about this. The people, it's been a great experience for my family. We've got a couple more workouts to see, which is even better. But exciting time.
Well, Nick, salute for your service and thank you for doing everything that you do. My last one is this. Is there, I don't know if it happened on this trip or other trips, is there just sort of a pinch me moment like, holy shit, I am here at the NFL Combine and there's head coaches and GMs and everything. I know for your job, you do that a lot where you're in a lot of those situations. So maybe that wears off, I guess, eventually. But, me hearing you tell some of these stories and you being there, like, man, it is FOMO happening over here. I am like, wow, man, you're living the dream. Are there pinch me moments happening for you out there?
All the time. And, I had a friend, who works at the New York Post, and he and I worked together at AM New York for close to a year before he left. And we were talking, and this was really my first year working. So I was on the New York Rangers beat at the time, didn't jump on the Jets yet, but I had helped him out for football stories. So we would go to the Giants facility all the time. And he said to me, yeah, it's a job. It's the next job. Used to be all wide eye and wow, this is cool. But you kind of get to a point where it kind of runs out. And I told him, I said, I really hope that never happens to me because, being in the NFL is what I've always wanted to cover as a kid, was always ingrained in sports. So even just covering a professional sports team is a huge honor. And he goes, as long as you will keep having fun like that, it'll never go away. And yeah, I think that's kind of stuck to this point. I've been on the beat now for 3-4 years. Worked, obviously, like I said, covering the Rangers. I've done the Mets as well. I don't think it's ever going to go away because, my inner child will not allow it to.
Good.
But just yesterday, my wife posted, because I think the Jets posted one of the questions that I had asked Arvell Reese. And she's like, I saw it. I heard your voice. That is the coolest thing. 5-year-old Nick's got to be over the moon. I said, of course he is. But you got to kind of separate that a little bit of wide eye, but also you have a job to do. So it's a great balance, but it's also a lot of fun.
Well, Nick, again, congratulations. Pinch me moments deserved, and we appreciate you taking a slice on a week-to-week basis in normal situations, let alone this one. where you went above and beyond the line to do your part for Jets social media and all your Jets that you cover for jetsxfactor.com and more. So, Nick, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of the time with you and your family.
Of course. Thanks, man.
There he is, Nick Faria, baby, beat reporter for jetsxfactor.com. A real treat. Thank you to Nick. I texted him this morning. I was like, hey, I know you're at the Combine. Are you – obviously, I would love to have you on if you're available, but, if you can. And he went, yeah, I'll come on. I'm like, all right, great. So wow, some fun stories there from Nick. Yeah, that is hilarious. All right, we'll do this, folks. We'll take a quick hep time out, and we'll try to take as many of your phone calls as possible here before we wrap up the show and do some other interviews today. And again, Boy Green Beach Woody will be coming back. So we'll play a hep time out. We'll try to answer as many of your phone calls, super chats, comments. Keep those flowing, baby, here on the program. You guys are running out of days. Today is February 26th. The final day of February is on Saturday, the 28th. So if you want to submit your raffle tickets for our contest, now is the time to do so. I'll throw it up here real quick on the board before we go to the phone lines here on the program. Here it is. This is our raffle prizes this month. Again, if you're new to the channel, we do raffle giveaways every single month. There's a Darrelle Revis jersey, a pair of New York Jets shorts, part of our Boy Green Woody tailgate packages. We only have a few of those left, and I will grab a hat for my personal Jets collection, which again, if you guys tuned in if you are a Boy Green Special Club member, you saw the YouTube short that's exclusive to you guys, walking you through my hat collection. There are autographed Jets hats. I mean, there are draft hats. There's a lot of cool stuff. And I will pluck a hat off my wall and throw it into this giveaway as well. I don't believe I've ever done that before. So that'll be a cool gift. So again, all you have to do to be eligible for that giveaway is spend $3 on the channel. If you hit the money sign on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, super chats, super stickers, gifting, channel memberships, all of that is available. So take advantage and punch in as many raffle tickets as you can. And here's a little plug, because like I said, we have the Espresso Club coming up on Saturday. If you join the Boy Green Espresso Club, if you go down to our YouTube description down below and click Join Boy Green Coffee Club or Espresso Club, those are our 2 YouTube membership levels here on the channel. If you join the Espresso Club level, folks, you will get 5 raffle tickets to our contest for this month, and then 5 raffle tickets as long as you stay a member to every other contest. So long story short, for just $6, it's $5.99. Here is the prices for our YouTube membership levels: $2.99 and $5.99. If you remain an Espresso Club member, you have 5 raffle tickets every month until the end of time as part of that giveaway. Raffle tickets are $3 a piece, so that's a $15 value, but you're getting it at a deal because you pay $6. And also by paying $6, you get all the perks of the Coffee Club and Espresso Club plus the raffle ticket. So it's the gift that keeps on giving, Clark. And the creme de la creme, by the way, the Espresso Club is every month we do a live show just for you out in the audience. It is at the end of every month. Ours will be on this Saturday at 8 o'clock with all the Espresso Club members, and we get into some off-color topics. I mean, we get into some weird stuff, some serious stuff. Again, this upcoming Saturday episode, I'll be talking about how I was nearly on a game show. I would have been there probably right now, which again, we'll get into on Saturday. I'll walk you guys through all that, what the game show is and why I still may be on that show in the near future. Like, it's pretty crazy. We'll talk about all that and more here on the program as well. All right, folks, hang on tight here. Like I said, we will play a quick hep timeout. We'll be right back. One question I do want to answer, and I saw Ricky New York Live answered this earlier, but for people don't know, when does free agency start? Lou B, Super Jets fan asks. There are 2 levels of free agency that are worth highlighting. Number 1, legal tampering period. That opens at March 9th at 12 o'clock. What does that mean? That means you're allowed to, it's an oxymoron, but you're allowed to legally tamper if you are set to be a free agent. So if Breece Hall wasn't tagged, let's just say for the sake of this example, and the legal tampering period at noon, from March 9th at noon till free agency starts on March 11th, which is later that week at 4 o'clock, every team in the world could contact Breece Hall and talk about contracts and start engaging in that activity before free agency actually starts. So yeah, legal tampering period, March 9th at noon. The actual kickoff of the new league year, which is when trades can become official, signings and all those kind of things, is March 11th at 4 o'clock. So that is when free agency starts. All right, we'll play a hep timeout. We'll take as many phone calls as we can before we wrap up in about 15 minutes here on the show. Let's go.
1, 2, 3. Boy Green, Daily, Bugging Daily. Talking Jets football, man. All right. Boy Green Daily, Bugging Daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. Everyone, J-E-T-S, Jets. Boy Green, Bugging Daily. Talking Jets football, man. All right. Boy Green, Bugging Daily. Nice. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S, Jets. Let's go!
Welcome back, everybody. The phone lines are open. That's youtube.com/boygreen25. Make sure you feel free to call into the program. That is the free way to participate on the show. If you want your participation trophy, I'll also be answering a bunch of your comments here before we wrap up the show, and I have to get over to a few other interviews. Let's see. Let's go through your comments. By the way, folks, a quick reminder, speaking of free ways to contribute, we have 120 people in the room on YouTube, over 300 people across our social media platforms. Hit that like button, baby. That is free to do here on the show. I hopefully you guys have been enjoying our NFL Combine coverage. Again, 66 likes, over 120 people in the room. 60 of you are just watching the show, not doing a damn thing. Come on now. Make that a part of your routine every time you come into the show. Like that video. That helps a tremendous amount. Like I said, we're a couple subscribers away from 8,400. All right, let's go in here. Lou B says, what's the gossip with Lamar? Just Nick Ferry had something he had heard, I guess, at the Combine, is he thinks that it's going to be Lamar's last year in Baltimore. Interesting. You know, you hear all kinds of stuff going on. Jojo Townsell says, any mid-level bridge quarterback will do for this season. Yeah, it could be Kirk Cousins, could be Tanner McKee, the trades. I mean, it could be, Malik Willis feels a little expensive, TBH. And, for a lot of reasons, I'm not really in on that one. Let me think who else. Derek Carr could unretire, but that would be a trade situation. I mean, we're just... we'll go over a bunch of names, including some new names that have entered the proverbial octagon. Maybe we'll save that for Bob tomorrow. Oh boy, there was a name where I'm like, what? So anyone with a pulse is on the list. I mean, that's just sort of where we're at right now, folks. That's just sort of where we're at. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's kick it off with Hep.
Hey, Paul. Hey, fellas. I seen the Jake got Rich Eisen on. I didn't realize how big Rich Eisen is. He's a big guy because Jake looked like really small next to him.
He is, yeah. Let me see. I don't know if we got measurements on the Rich Eisen, but let's see. What do we have? It's okay. He's 56. I knew that was his age. We do not have height and weight. He should, he's at the NFL Combine. We can't measure this guy, so I don't know the exact height of it. But yeah, I did see. I saw it late because, again, we're buried in Combine coverage, and I just sort of accidentally ran into it, and I went like, oh, my God, he got him back, and I said, oh, man, that's so cool. I love Rich Eisen, so good for Jake.
It was funny, because Rich Eisen was kind of like talking to Jake, kind of like, yeah, I heard about you with,
because Jake set up a couple, it was kind of funny that he set up a couple of his questions, like, when he was talking about Aaron Glenn's superpower and a few other, and then Rich is like, yeah, there was a little bit of that going on. Yeah, I noticed that too last night. That was funny.
Yeah, you definitely have to get there next year. I think it's good for meeting people and stuff.
Of course.
Not only for the show, but for your own career and stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Hep.
I've been hearing rumors possibly that the Commanders might want to trade back.
Yeah,
because they don't really have any picks. They're devoid of picks. What do they have? Like the first, and they don't have a second rounder pick.
Yeah. Let's pull this up for Washington and see what they have here. Thank you to the NFL draft value chart. All right, so they have the 7th overall pick. They don't have a 2nd round pick. They do have their 3rd round pick. That's 71 overall. They don't have a 4th round pick. They do have a 5th round pick. That's 145 overall, and then they have a 6, 185. They actually have 2 6s. The other one's 207, and then they have a 7. So they're missing a 2 and a 4. So they're missing some meat and potatoes from the middle of their draft, but every other round they're representing in at least one and sometimes two, as we talked about with the 6th round. So no, that'd be smart because again, if you think about it this way, right? They pick at 7. The next time they pick at 71. I mean, that's a significant gap of like, geez, because like let's say they decide not to trade, they pick at 7. They're like, all right, guys, let's take the night off and wait 70 picks or whatever it is. So like, yeah, that's a massive gap. So I'm not surprised that they want to trade. And I heard Cleveland is like, hey, we are open for business and we'll move down a lot from 6. I'm like, interesting, for some interesting situations. So yeah, apparently that's on the table.
Or maybe the Jets might want to move up from 16 to get into the get that.
And who would you
give up
want?
44.
Who would you want to move up for?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how the board falls and stuff. I still think that Simpson is probably going to wind up into the top 10, just because of the quarterback frenzy. It happens every year. People get amped up, So I just see that happening. If that happens, that's good for us because that means, more good players will fall back. But I'm not sure, at this point. I mean, I know we have a lot of holes to fill, so I'm always about let's go get the best player at the best position. I mean, for example, I know that Caleb Downs is probably going to be one of the top 3 or top 4 safeties in the league, right?
Yeah. That's what they say pay wise. Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, but I mean, I project him to be that too. I don't know about Reese because I don't know if Reese is going to be the top edge rusher. I mean, there's a lot of talent in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a deep pool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, when you're picking that too, I want to get the guy that's like the best at his position. Especially with the suffering we did this last year, we earned that pick too.
Oh yeah, blood, sweat, sacrifice. There's no doubt. A lot was invested for that pick. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I did try to get back on was able to cancel my membership.
Okay.
So I tried to get back in, but once I canceled it, it won't let me do anything. So I'll have to go back.
I'll help you, Hep. I'll try to help you ahead of Saturday night and see if we can get you in there because I just saw Badshot join this week and stuff. So yeah, I will try to assist you. Whether that's to whatever today is Thursday, it's whatever. I will help at whatever of these days to try to crack the code and see if we can fix it. I know a few people have had issues, so we'll figure it out, Hep.
I'm like the old guy, get inside your computer, and I'm trying to open it up, like.
Yeah, right now. That's hey, you know what? This YouTube world of especially doing like different membership levels, I didn't even like think that was a thing. So, yeah. There's a lot of things I got to crack. We'll help you out, pal.
Thanks, guys.
You're the best. Hep joining us here on the program. I saw someone comment on the Rich Eisen interview. So Nate Jet says Rich is 6 feet. Jake is just particularly small. Well, there you go. So he's 6 feet. Okay, I did not know that. There you go. I don't know. I've never stood next to the guy, so not sure. God bless. M123 XYZ says Rich said he's almost an LA fan. So yeah, and he also said like some of his diehard Jets fan thing is sort of worn out. And Nick just said he used to work with someone at the New York Post that covered the Giants, and he was like a producer for him, lack of a better word, like an assistant for helping him on the Giants, probably doing some stats or whatever he was doing. And Nick talked about how wide-eyed he was, like, whoa, look at all this. And then the buddy he was with the Giants said, yeah, you just sort of get used to it, and then it like dies, like you're just doing a job. And Nick says, I hope that never happens. My same thing happens with this. I am a wide-eyed Jets fan. I am excited about the Combine. I love doing this show. I love writing articles, and then we talk about them on the show. I love watching the games. I love the draft. I love free agency. My hands shake when the Jets sign a big free agent. I'm giddy, and I'm running over here like, oh, my God, we got the blue blood. We got this wide receiver from the Ravens. We got this guy. Like, I get genuinely excited, and I hope if any of you get a chance to meet me, I know several members of the Coffee Club have, and I get that question every once in a while. Like, is all the stuff you do on the show fake? like your voice and your this and this. I'm like, no, that's me. Can confirm, authentic. That is me. I'm just a weird, quirky guy, I guess. I'm not sure. So I hope none of that ever goes away. I hope in 10 years, no matter what happens with the Jets, I don't just go, well, I did punch my ticket in talking about the Jets. I hope I'm as excited about it as I am right now for the rest of my life. And I see no reason why I won't be. So yeah, that was a little like depressing to hear Rich tell Jake Asman. They did an interview together on the at the Combine. And Rich said some of his diehard has definitely died away. And that now that he's out there in LA on the West Coast, the Rams and Chargers are all out there, and he's going to those games, bringing his kids and stuff. And, and the Jets have been terrible and all these other things that like some of that has died. And God, that was depressing. I hope that never happens for me. I hope I'm as excited and elated about it as all. Lee Van, BG is real and spectacular. Thank you for that Seinfeld reference, Lee Van. I needed that a little bit today. Yes. T Smooth, aka Terrence, says Paul's quirkiness is what drew me to the show. I love it. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. Yes. All right. Nice. Yeah, a lot of thoughts on the wide receivers. For sure. Let me see. Let me answer a few more comments before we check it. Thank you, Jake Klein, for your Woody Johnson comments. Appreciate that. NC Green says, basically what Rich said is he enjoys watching competent teams, which I guess I can't blame him for that desire. I desire to watch competent football. And, when you think about everything that we've seen in our lives, we've just seen a lot of bad football. I'm ready for better football. I'm ready for better times. I am. I can confirm. Yeah, I don't know how tall Jake is. We've taken pictures together, but I don't know. I'm like 5'3", 5'4". So I am speaking of particularly small, I am small in height. Yes. I see JoJo says can't trade a top 50 pick to move up. Unbelievable. Yeah, again, I think there's a strong case to be made to stay at the four picks inside the top 44 and maybe trade back as opposed to moving up. Again, moving up is exciting. It's titillating. It's woo. It's awesome. But man, I think you could get 4 quality players. Yeah. Gator McCluskey says the only Jets content creator that's shorter than Jake is Boy Green. Well. Okay, thank you. Appreciate the accuracy. Thank you. Thank you for Gator for the accountability there. And Gator, if you're still in here, I got to remind, I was going to reach back out to you about the intro. I got to make sure I did that. We both got busy. So, yes, let's circle back on the Boy Green intro. An exciting thing cooking behind the scenes, folks. Yes. Lee Van, Survivor reference. So if you guys saw that late last night, a quick comment on this, and then we'll wrap up the show. For those, this YouTube channel I do is 100% Jets all the time. The only team that isn't Jets is I am a massive fan of the show, the CBS reality show Survivor. Season 50 just started last night. It's on Paramount Plus, CBS. It's been on air since the year 2000. I love that show. I've applied to get on that show. That's not the show I'm talking about for the Boy Green Espresso Club later, although I could tell that story too. But I love that show. And season 50 was last night, and it was a 3-hour premiere. And oh my God, it was terrific. And yes, as Lee Van says, I hate how Sari never gets voted out. And I thought for sure, I was like, oh, is she about to get voted out? She's a really good social game, so maybe she gets out of it. But basically, 24 castaways on an island out there in Fiji, and they vote each other out. And then the people that make the jury and get voted out vote to pick the winner. So you can't just slit people's throats and be ruthless. You have to have some social acumen to be able to sort of like send them out packing, but like in a respectful way that like they respect you at the end. So it's sort of an interesting balance. Anywho, I love that show. And we did a recap of that episode last night. We'll do that late at night. So if you want Boy Green late at night, I'm barely operating on any sleep here. I didn't go to sleep till like 2 a.m. And then we got back up at 6 in the morning to get ready for the show. So not a lot of sleep operating here. Although I guess more sleep than Nick Fury got, so maybe I shouldn't be too picky. But yes, Serene never gets voted out. So yes, so shout out to all my Survivor people out in the audience. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. If not, hopefully, it doesn't bother you and you can just ignore it. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't like turn people away. Like I said, I try to do as many Jet shows as possible in the universe. Of all kinds of content every day, all the time. But hopefully for the people that enjoy Survivor, that you guys tune in on Wednesday nights. I will be doing that all season 50 long for the next couple of months. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Gator McCluskey said, I fell asleep listening to your Survivor wrap-up show. Not an insult. It was late. That damn show was 3 hours long. Enjoy your Survivor stuff. Thank you so much, Gator. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I appreciate the clarity of like, not an insult. I fell asleep because you're so boring, you bastard. But no, that was a lot of fun. And oh my God. Yeah. It's a 3-hour show. So it didn't go over to 11. We had a special guest on. We normally have former castaway Brett LaBelle on the show. And, then you do like an hour recap show. Then all of a sudden it went from 11, it's midnight. And then our show went beyond an hour. So, oh my goodness. Good Lord have mercy. It is insane, but a fun show. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see more of the season. T-Smooth, I'll be joining the Boy Greatest Special Club tomorrow for sure. Yes, any Boy Greatest Special Club members will be there, baby. So let's go. Jojo Townsend said, would rather see BG at a Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay. Again, I don't know how many times I've told this story on air, but when I was a kid, what do you want to be when you're a kid? I wanted to be a chef. Behind me, there's all these books behind me. And there is an Emeril Lagasse autograph cookbook. I'm probably a terrible chef, to be candid, but I wanted to be a chef. And Emeril Lagasse was bam! He threw the seasoning in. It got people excited. I watch anything Gordon Ramsay does. I watch Hell's Kitchen. I watch Master Chef. I love all his shows. So I enjoy watching those shows, and I wish I could cook like that. I wish I could be, Chef Kevin Gilbert, in a different life. But I did want to be a chef when I was younger. Totally true. My mother got me a BAM apron. I wanted to be this cool chef. And that was the first thing I wanted to be when I was a kid. That is accurate. And I love Gordon Ramsay. He follows me on Twitter, actually, which is like one of the most proudest things in my life. So appreciate that. Yo, Holmes, BG maybe 5'3", but BG's charisma 6'8". Okay, all right. I got to put that on my bio card. And great, Gator. We'll talk after the combine. Great. All right, you and Jake keep killing it. That's awesome with what you guys are doing. All right, well, everybody, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the show. This was awesome. Wait a second, we got a super chat in here. Let me make sure I get this back in. Make sure we don't miss it. Wow. Thank you for squeezing this in at the buzzer, Luby, Super Jets fan. By the way, you're up to now 14 raffle tickets in our contest, which we'll update here on the leaderboard appropriately. Appreciate you, Lou B. All right, beautiful. That's what I'm talking about, baby. And you were in our top 5 leaderboard. So Stud moves back to max 4 and move up to minimum 10. Wow. That could be, sure, move back from 2, pick up assets, and then move back up. And then you keep the overall amount of picks, but you're just sort of maximizing the location. That could be a very creative way to do it, Luby. Sure. That's I like that. Yeah. That's a very cool way to do it. So, oh yeah, let me get that out before we do this. Yeah, Nate Jets is like, Chef Kev's living Boy Green stream. It's true, actually. That is true. I see, Luby, you're asking about the positions today. Let me get that, the NFL Combine schedule before we get out of here. Let me give that to all you guys out in the audience. All righty, so here's what we got according to NFL.com. That's as good of a source as we have out here. So here are the workouts today. Again, on-field workouts start at 3 o'clock. It's defensive linemen and linebackers. Tomorrow, coverage starts at 3 o'clock. It's the DBs, the defensive backs, and the tight ends. Saturday is the show of shows. That's quarterbacks, that's wide receivers, that's running backs. Coverage starts at 1 o'clock. Sunday, finish off with a Hog Molly's offensive lineman that will be shorter because it's only that one position. That'll be coverage from 1 to 5 p.m. All the other coverages today, tomorrow, and Saturday will go from whatever the time is to 8 o'clock. So 3 to 8 today, 3 to 8 tomorrow, 1 to 8 Saturday, 1 to 5 on Sunday, and that is your NFL Combine coverage. So, yes, we'll get the defensive linemen and linebackers. Plenty of needs for the Jets, and apparently Arvell Reese today will be working at both off-ball linebacker and edge rusher drills. So I'll be very excited to see where we go from there. So thank you, Lou B, for sending in that super chat at the buzzer. Yo, Holmes, Beachy, what is your signature dish? Thank you for asking, Yo, Holmes. A couple years ago for Valentine's Day, I made bolognese for Tatiana. We lived upstairs. So this is a sort of a 2-story place that we live in. And for a long time, we lived upstairs. And then when the landlord owners lived down here, they moved out. And then we said, oh, cool, way more space down there. Boop, boop, and pay a little more. And so when I was upstairs, I made bolognese. I went to the local market. And I got all these ingredients. I chopped things up and turned it into a big thing. It was a massive mess, but she seemed to like the dish. So bolognese was the dish of choice. I don't know if I can make that again very quickly, but yes, bolognese was the dish of choice. A proud dish that was certainly made there for sure. All right, everybody, that was a lot of fun. Again, we'll be back at 3 o'clock. So you can mix in your Combine coverage and some Boy Green Meets Woody. And then as soon as that show's over, I'm jumping into the Combine coverage myself. So looking forward to tuning back in with you guys at 3 o'clock. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon.